Henry, is the tea ready?
Yes, it is. It's right here.
Oh, excellent. Ooh.
Yeah, it's finished steeping.
Oh, excellent.
Would you like some?
I would. Here,
Oh.
I shall do the honors of pouring.
Wonderful.
Nice afternoon cuppa. What have you got there?
Well, I was thinking of continuing our reading of the Bavarian Airship Regatta. So we've left Lord Ashley telling the story to Sparky and Drake, and he's in the jewelry shop thinking about buying something for Gabrielle.
Okay. Do continue.
The name of this chapter is Mr. Woodhouse's Replacement. After a few minutes in the shop, Lord Ashley had picked out the most magnificent necklace with a wonderful display of colored gems surrounded by diamonds. His plan was simple. He would meet Gabrielle during his walk around Ile de la Cité, make small talk, confess that he had temporarily gone along with their misunderstanding that he was a servant, produce the necklace, and disclose that he was a viscount. Her good fortune would sweep her off her feet. While finishing his purchase, simultaneously wondering if some part of the plan should occur on bended knee, he heard the shop door close. Thanking the proprietor, he took one last look at his purchase, verifying that it was perfect for his intentions. A commanding voice addressed him from behind, grinding out English smothered in a thick Parisian accent. "Sir, I have seen your type before." Lord Ashley spun about and came face to face with Monsieur Girard, who must have followed him into the bijouterie. Monsieur Girard continued with his monologue. "You have either deceived the shop girl regarding your status, or you are a fabricator and a false witness, or you are in the process of squandering your employer's money to woo a young lady. Either way, you are a cad. You should know that the young lady is my niece, and I have seen that look in a man's eyes before, and I will do whatever it takes to keep you far away from her." The speech came complete with finger wags and lip pouts to illustrate the seriousness of the accusation. The final sentence included a wide-eyed stare for added effect. Monsieur Girard gave a final pout, threw his hands in the air, and stormed out. Lord Ashley was beside himself. His freshly minted plan was deflating like an hour-old soufflé. Now he needed to convince two people that his intentions were honorable, if not a bit innocent. But how could he convince anyone of that with a necklace that neither she nor her uncle could ever afford? It did look like he was planning to buy her affections. He also surmised that getting her uncle a gift would not smooth things over either, nor could he return the necklace, even further convincing Monsieur Girard that it was all a ruse. He left the shop, necklace properly boxed as a gift, and stored in an inner pocket, the parcel of his new clothes tucked under his arm. Perhaps there was some other reason that he told the story to Gabrielle. He could be a British detective in disguise. No, that was far too complicated, and he had no credentials to verify that claim. He could be a famous viscount hiding his identity while on travel. But again, to reveal himself, his name would have been known well enough to justify such an assertion, which it was not. Lord Ashley needed a way out of this predicament. And then it came to him. He needed the ruse to continue. To do that, he needed to find Theodore Grossman, get on his good side, take him into his confidence, and allow the fabricated servant story to continue, at least for a day, until he could clear up this whole mess. Since Mr. Grossman was in a hurry to procure his shirts, Lord Ashley hoped he could follow his trail by stopping at a number of men's fashion shops near where Gabrielle worked while playing detective. His plan was simple but deceptive. It took a full 5 shops to succeed and for his patter to sound convincing. "Bonjour," Lord Ashley started, and then continued in French. "I'm Ashley. My master, Mr. Grossman, has sent me to check on the status of his order he placed this morning. I hope I have the correct shop, since he wasn't clear in his directions." "Sir, that order was placed just this morning," the proprietor explained. We haven't even cut the fabric yet. Yes, I understand. Mr. Grossman wanted me to verify the quantity of shirts purchased and to make sure that they were shipped to the right place. Lord Ashley was guessing that Grossman had them shipped to a local address, but it seemed to be a reasonable assumption given Mr. Grossman's haste and level of distrust. Mr. Grossman ordered 12 shirts. He selected each of the colors and fabrics himself. Do you want to see them? Yes, please. The proprietor retrieved a bundle of fabrics carefully bound with ribbon from the back of the shop. He laid the parcel in front of Lord Ashley and untied it to reveal a collection of white and off-white fabrics. The proprietor indicated they were all to be made into wingtip-colored dress shirts. They were far too commonplace for Lord Ashley's tastes, but that really should not have mattered, given his mission here. But it was too tempting not to spice up the lot. Mr. Grossman wanted to add a blue and white striped shirt for a night on the town. Can you show me a sample? It was clear that Mr. Grossman had presented the same disposition here as he had in Gabrielle's shop. The proprietor raised his eyebrows at the suggestion, but retrieved the fabrics just the same. He laid out the fabric samples on the counter. Lord Ashley selected a fine American cotton, blue with a thin white stripe. He asked for a round-cornered collar with a pleated front, much more fashionable and stylish than its future companions. Allow me to pay for the additional shirt now. Lord Ashley withdrew the appropriate amount of francs from his well-made leather wallet. Are you shipping the finished shirts to my master's hotel? Yes, of course. We will be hand-delivering them to the Ile d'Albion at 323 Rue Saint-Henri. We will have these completed in 2 days' time. Your business is greatly appreciated. Very good. I was concerned that my master might have mispronounced the hotel name, given his difficulty with the French. Your establishment has done well. Au revoir. Lord Ashley slipped his hat back onto his head as he left, and tried to hide his smile at his good fortune and his ability to execute the charade. Wasn't this Erasmus's territory? Comparing stories with him tonight would be entertaining. The hotel was between Rue Saint-Henri and Rue de Rivoli. Lord Ashley glided in with a simple plan. Get on Mr. Grossman's good side through mutual business interests, let him know about his predicament, and coax him into playing along with the scheme for a day or two. If all else failed, the promise of future business or some trinket might persuade him. The primary objective was to assure Gabrielle's and her uncle's trust. A quick conversation at the front desk, and Lord Ashley was headed to the second floor where Mr. Grossman's party had their accommodations. At the top of the stairs, 2 men were briskly walking towards Lord Ashley with the intent of exiting the building, buttoning their coats as they went. They were engrossed in their conversation and paid no mind to the well-dressed Indian approaching them. The taller man was speaking in English, with indifference to being overheard. Grossman will skin us alive if we don't fix the EPACs and get the job finished. The IGC is less than 30 yards away. They could have killed the whole project. Grossman told me we should meet him behind the boulangerie on Rue Remy du Moncel. They only have about 3,000 bricks. We need at least 2,000 more. His voice indicated a clear level of concern. The heavier-set fellow replied, also in English. I'll grab an extra tool bag out of my carriage house. Fixing the crawlers shouldn't take much more than an hour. No, not crawlers. Call them EPACs. The marketing on this is important. Just as they passed each other, the taller gentleman suddenly noticed Lord Ashley. Pardon me, are you the shipper? Are you looking for Mr. Grossman? Lord Ashley thought only for a split second. This sounded like the perfect way to meet with Mr. Grossman. He deftly turned on his heel and answered nonchalantly, My name is Mr. Ashley. Perhaps I am the shipper you are looking for. Are you going to meet Mr. Grossman? The tall man responded with a touch of disapproval. I'm Hedgley. This is my employee, Mr. Martin. You are at least 3 days late, Mr. Ashley. Come with us right away. Mr. Grossman is planning to meet us at the site of the excavation. He may not be too pleased, but the fact that you're here means that the entire business deal is recoverable. I suggest we don't discuss anything in public. Come with us." Whew. Rue Remy du Moncel was outside Paris on its southwestern side. Lord Ashley rode silently in the cabriolet with the two men and their tool bag. The bakery where they stopped was very small and didn't even appear to be open. Mr. Hedgeley waved Lord Ashley on as they entered a narrow cobblestone alley that led behind the shop, Mr. Martin lugging the tool bag. Lord Ashley simply followed them. He needed to see Mr. Grossman today to make all of his plans work. He rounded the side of the shop to see the dilapidated lot with construction activity and a well-stacked collection of new limestone bricks. The two men went to work pulling on work gloves and laying out the mechanics' tools from the bag. Mr. Grossman wasn't there, so Lord Ashley looked about, taking in the scene. Suddenly, a new, shining white limestone brick appeared on top of the well-stacked column. It drew Lord Ashley's gaze immediately. A small mechanical clicking sound came from the far side of the bricks. It sounded like it was retreating, but now it was getting louder. Two fast-moving mechanical brass arms rapidly stacked another brick onto the column. The brick must have been at least 20 pounds in weight and was placed with such dexterity that it hardly made a noise. Trying his best to look unsurprised, Lord Ashley walked past the two busy men to get a better view of the far side of the limestone brick stack that was now about 4 feet high. The sight took his breath. First, there was the gaping hole in the ground, as if it had been scooped out from below. Perhaps angry devils had dug their way to the surface, looking for souls to take. The grass and weeds from the surface curved down into the hole in a manner that made the opening look natural rather than man-made. Out of it scurried 8-legged contraptions hauling limestone bricks on their backs, creating a neatly assembled stack, and then disappearing back into the aperture. The anthropomorphic contraptions were working at such a bristling tempo that it gave Lord Ashley an incredible case of apprehension at the thought that the earth was teeming with uncontrollable animated brass spiders. He shivered unceremoniously. This was not the normal way to extract limestone, and it had an incredible creepiness to it. In his best attempt to sound calm, he croaked, "Pardon me, sir. May I ask a question?" He needed to stop himself from asking, "What on God's earth is going on here?" So he had to think quickly. "Of course, but make it quick," Mr. Hedley replied without looking up from his labors. "How many of these contraptions do you have operating?" "I thought Mr. Grossman briefed you on all of this. We have 200 transports and about 50 cutters. They work as a collective, transmitting task-related information using key presses and recognition of specific pitches. They will finish extracting the 5,000 bricks you need to ship to England by noon tomorrow." "So why the tools?" "Well, there seems to be something causing breakdown in the e-packs under the surface. We need to recover them using redirected transports. We would like to get this done before we lose sunlight and before the IGC notices our endeavors." With his last word, he added a wiggle of his eyebrows to show that the task was questionable. "E-packs? IGC? Good God, man, did you retain nothing? E-pack, electric-powered automated crawling transport, or cutting tool. We're still working out the nomenclature. They're similar in structure, but the cutters have to deal with cutting and extraction, so their legs are much shorter. The IGC is what we're worried about, the Inspection Générale du Carrier, or rather the Office of General Inspection of the Quarries. They verify the quarries and catacombs for stability. If they found out we were misappropriating limestone from one of their recent cave-ins, the local gendarme would arrest us faster than you could say free limestone. Oh, thank you. Now I remember. Will Mr. Grossman be by soon? I would like to discuss the details of my transporting the merchandise with him. Mr. Hedgley was again indignant. Discuss it some more? 2 months of back and forth, and you need some more deliberation? Mr. Grossman warned us that you were the weak link in this. He should be by in an hour. I suggest you stand back while we retrieve our lead e-pact. Lord Ashley retreated a number of steps. He wanted nothing to do with these 2-foot-long crawling monsters. During this entire time, brass creatures were coming and going and stacking the limestone bricks. Mr. Martin stood up, after pulling a whistle out of his pocket, looked at Mr. Hedgley. No? He asked. Mr. Hedgley gave him a nod. Mr. Martin took a deep breath, placed the whistle in his mouth, and blew hard, producing no discernible sound other than the wind from his lungs passing through the device. While Lord Ashley wondered what that was all about, an e-pact zipped out of the cavity of the earth and scurried crab-like towards Mr. Martin, stopping right at his feet. It was missing 2 legs on one side, and the unit was clearly doing its best to maneuver with this damage. Mr. Martin gasped and took on the saddest face. Oh, my lord, what has happened to you? How are you going to retrieve the other crawlers with this damage? It's going to take hours to fix you. Mr. Hedgley attempted to keep his employee on task. Mr. Martin, I suggest you get started. We're losing daylight. For the next hour, Lord Ashley faded into the background while the 2 men worked on repairing the metallic creature, retasking it, and running it through some tests while it appeared to do a mini version of what it planned to perform underground. It was during one of these tests that Mr. Grossman arrived, fully dressed in business attire, and none too happy. He first looked at the efforts of the workers and sneered in a manner indicating he thought that these mechanical miners were going to be a problem, and then he looked at Lord Ashley. Why are you here? He growled. He's the shipper, stated Mr. Martin, as if to defend their bringing him to the location. I don't think so. This is not Mr. Woodhouse, you bumblers. Did you just bring anyone you found on the street to this location? Have you no sense of propriety? Mr. Grossman was getting red-faced. Lord Ashley jumped in. I'm Mr. Ashley. Mr. Woodhouse is a colleague of mine, and I suggest that I step in to support your endeavor. You don't look, dress, or talk like a shipper. You actually manage a sailing vessel? I have access to a fleet of vessels, both ocean-going and airborne. I am more than capable of transporting your merchandise. You got brass ones, Mr. Ashley. I'll say that for you. Simply put, I want you to transport 5,000 limestone bricks from this location to the docks in London. Start at noon tomorrow. As I told Mr. Woodhouse, I don't want this shipment to be seen, weighed, tariffed, or seized. And I don't want the IGC nosing around our excavation, so steer clear of them, too. Got it? Well, yes, of course. However, I do want to know... Enough questions! Out of here with you! You're late to the party, and I don't want you to slow down the festivities. Good day! Lord Ashley was doing his best to hide how distraught he was. He mumbled his goodbyes and started his exit without his usual bouncing step and self-assurance. He took one last look at the scene and the stack of limestone bricks that was now well over 6 feet high from the industry of its scurrying laborers. He headed back down to the Birken Hair, a gift-wrapped necklace inside his jacket, a bundle of new clothes under his arm, and a head full of concerns. Lord Ashley's story came to its end. Sparky and Erasmus were dumbstruck. Everyone looked around to see who would speak first. Sparky had the first thought. Erasmus, you have no jurisdiction here, do you? None. though I may have easy access to the local constables, but we have a bigger problem. We need to resolve all this and get Lord Ashley to meet Gabrielle." Sparky's eyes lit up. "I've got it! Listen closely." Erasmus smiled and thought to himself, this must be how Sparky got her title of adventuress.
Okay then.
Well,
Guess we have to see what Sparky has in mind.
Well, that'll be in our next chapter. And it's been fun reading to you from the Bavarian Airship Regatta. Next time,